Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Charity Charge Show. Today, we are joined by Karen Houghton, and she is the CEO of Infinite Giving, and they are an incredible kind of financial advisory organization to support nonprofits. Karen, thank you for joining us today. Tell me a little bit more about the work that you're doing over at Infinite Giving.
Absolutely. Hey, Grayson. Thanks to everyone for listening. Excited to be here at Infinite Giving. We are a fiduciary partner that serves growing nonprofits. So we are one partner who can help you receive non-cash donations. We can help you manage those donations and we can help you grow those donations.
Amazing. What inspired you to start Infinite Giving?
I actually was an executive director of a nonprofit. So I
Gotcha.
filed for the 501(c)(3). I've been a fundraiser. I've tried to work with boards. I really was on that we were a smaller organization, $500,000 a year of trying to really make a huge impact. And I was good at a lot of things. Finance was not my strongest
Mhm.
area as we were fundraising and doing all of this work. And what I experienced in that journey was that really the financial system here in the US was not made for nonprofits. And
Agreed.
as you get into it a lot deeper, what a lot of folks don't even know is that the US financial system was created more than 100 years before the first tax exempt entity even existed. And if you're not in the nonprofit world, you're like, what do you mean? This is not a broken system. You can do a bank account. None of that's not a problem. If you are in the nonprofit world, which we are, and everybody listening is, you've probably experienced multiple pain points. Things like how difficult it is to even open a brokerage account, or why can't a nonprofit have easy access to an FDIC sweep program, or how come maybe you can't receive stock donations, or maybe you do, but you've had that moment where you had something hit your brokerage account and you don't know who it came from because
Mm,
names are not attached to stock donations in the system. So there's all these little pinpoints, even something like changing a user on a bank account or a financial account can
mhm.
take weeks and weeks in paperwork. And it's not that those folks running all those organizations are bad people, right? They serve a great purpose. But really what happens is as soon as you put tax exempt, there's a lot of complex compliance requirements that come out of
Yeah.
that status. And so when you look at those financial systems, they were created for retail clients like you and I and our families individually
Mhm.
and business clients, but not tax exempt. And so there's all these different pain points and complexities that are added, which really create a lot of friction points for tax exempt entities. And this is in an industry where financial stewardship
Mhm.
is perhaps the most important. So when we look at how do we come alongside organizations and say, why is this so difficult? How do we make it
Mhm.
easier? At Infinite Giving, that's what we were created, right? Is we were like, you know what? We can come alongside and create an entire system that understands your nuances, understands the problems you're trying to solve, and all
Mhm.
these unique needs that nonprofits have with like, yeah, donor stewardship is different.
Yeah.
How we think about compliance and how we think about our reportings and what we needs and liquidity and all of these different things. And so you're like, yeah, we know that. Who's teaching us these things?
Mm.
You often have finance people and you have nonprofit people, but where those two kind of meet in the middle, it does not often come together quite as smoothly as we would hope. So we exist to really serve those small to mid-sized growing nonprofits, helping them easily receive stock donations, solve a lot of those pain points, and then have another tool in their toolkit where they can be like, great, how much reserves am I supposed to have? Where
Mm.
are they supposed to go? Do I really need 6 bank accounts or can I actually just have one and have a brokerage account? And does it really need to take me 12 weeks to open a brokerage account? The
Yeah.
answer is no. We do it with like 30 minutes of your time in 3 business days. And I think that greatest value also comes from is sometimes we serve, hundreds of nonprofits. We're in
Yeah.
41 states. And the folks will talk to us, these nonprofit leaders and board members, and they're like, Karen, within an hour of the time we spent with you and your team, we understand more than we have in a decade plus with our other financial partners. And it's mostly because those folks don't understand nonprofits and we were created to serve them. So I think that's where there's a lot of fun opportunity for us to really come alongside these courageous leaders.
I love that. And your mission so closely connects to what we're doing at Charity Charge as well. So I absolutely love the work that you're doing. I would love to bring it back to kind of whenever you were starting the organization. You've been running Infinite Giving for a little over 4 years. Tell me a little bit more about how that learning process was in terms of walking alongside nonprofit leaders, and how have you seen the needs within the nonprofit space change over that time?
Absolutely. So I mentioned earlier, like, hey, I've got my roots in nonprofit work. We've done a lot of ministry work, my husband and I, and then you go all the way to the other side. And after that, I actually had a 10-year career in tech and then in venture capital. So it was a very bizarre leap. Not a lot of people have kind of been on both sides of that table, but I love the journey that I was
Right.
able to go on. And what happens is when you build a 10-year career in tech and venture capital and finance,
Mhm.
you start to be exposed to a lot of these big ideas. And then when you're sitting there and you get a lot of board work, right? So I serve on lots of boards now. Berry College Board of Trustees. We have a small $2 billion endowment, all the way to other smaller organizations where we're still trying to build up 6 months of reserves. And so, as I've built this kind of career path, it's given me, I think, a really unique opportunity to say, wow, I've been that fundraiser. I've been that executive director trying to figure out a
Perspective.
budget and trying to get that. I've also been a board member of small
Yeah.
and large organizations and institutions where honestly, a lot of those pain points, they're similar, right? And so then it's like, all right, well, I have all this board experience, 10-year career in venture capital and in the
Mhm.
investment side. I have my Series 65, so I'm an investment advisor as well. And really, all of that was like, man, I think I'm uniquely kind of my journey has taken me a spot where we can uniquely solve problems because I have this perspective of these different seats. And guess what? In none of those seats where I like, oh, yeah, no, someone's doing that and they're doing it really well. You talk to nonprofit, someone's like, I love my financial, like, I love having in all these different places and all these different accounts and no, nothing's broken. What is interesting though is I think sometimes people, because what we're doing is disrupting a very traditional industry, similar to kind of what you guys are doing, right? It's like, okay, well, endowments or cash management or treasury portfolios or, receiving stocks or
Yeah.
crypto is not rocket science. But all of a sudden, when you're able to be like, actually, we can streamline all of this, we can create efficiency, we can increase transparency, we can do it in a more affordable way, all of these things are like a breath of fresh air for nonprofits because you're like, oh,
100%.
it's something that actually makes sense to me. And these people understand me and they can help us grow and they can help us steward things in a well that increase our impact. That's what's most important, right? When you are anyone serving nonprofits, it's about the mission at hand, and money is what fuels the mission. And
Kind of hand
so
in hand.
yeah, it's absolutely hand in hand, and it's like we all start in the scarcity mindset, and we talk a lot about, okay, we have to move from scarcity into strategy, and ideally strategy, the more we can lean into that and talk about it, and normalize it, and give everybody the right tools, then that can lead to sustainability, which is the dream, right? How do we become financially sustainable? And in some worlds we would call that abundance. And so that's the dream of like, how do we get there? And we're like, everybody wants that, but it's like we want it and the outsiders like expect it and they're like, yes, you should do this, but it's not easy.
And what are the action steps?
Right. So it's like, all right, well, how can we come alongside you and make it easier and take something off your plate and to do it with consistent fiduciary oversight?
I love that. And I would love to explore this year this need for this strategy and financial sustainability and stability has really been highlighted with some of the changes that are happening in terms of the nonprofit funding landscape. I would love if you could, for our nonprofit audience, tell a little bit more about what you're seeing from your perspective in terms of the nonprofits both successfully navigating kind of these financial challenges and hurdles, and then also maybe some things that people could be doing a little bit better.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is people are looking for something different because it does feel kind of broken, right? They're like, well, I know our reserves probably shouldn't be sitting in a checking or a savings account, or there's probably something better than a CD.
Mhm.
But how do we get it? How do we access it? And so really saying, hey, this is available to you. Like we can partner. That's not hard. We all the time people reach out and they're like, you probably don't want to talk to us. We probably don't meet the minimum, or we probably don't this, or you probably, and I'm like, no, no, no. Like, tell me, we want to talk to you. We want to help you. And that's such a huge gift to be able to just say, no, 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 we are here for you. So I think we're seeing a lot of organizations who are like, we want to be a little bit more financially savvy. What options are out there? And they're
Mm,
kind of finding us, which we love. So it's like really looking at what do we do beyond the bank? We love our bank partners. We love our community partners, operating cash flow, all that goes in there. But what do we do when we start to have some reserves? What do we do when we have a capital campaign that's going to take a couple of years or we get a grant? Where do we put it before we, spend it down? So I think it's looking for something new, right? That there's got to be a better way. And luckily now there is. I also think we are seeing a rise in endowments. They used to just be this is what higher ed does, really large
mm,
institutions. They're so lucky. We wish we could, but we can't. But the way endowments are structured now, they're so much more accessible. And so we really love when organizations, endowments are not for everybody. But if you're starting to build up and you have your reserves, quasi endowments, unrestricted endowments, term endowments, or designated endowments, there's different ways you can do that. But it's like, oh, now we can fundraise. And when somebody asks us about a legacy gift, we can say yes. Right. And so it's giving, hey, small to mid-sized organizations can have the infrastructure and can have endowments that are still meaningful. We have several clients who like their big dream goal is a $10 million endowment.
yeah.
That's going to kick off $500,000 a year, literally for lifetimes to come if managed properly. That's a beautiful gift. So endowments, looking for alternatives for cash reserves. And then I think for us, that third final leg of the stool that we often talk about is receiving asset gifts. I know we did a big asset gift study about fundraising and different
Mm,
patterns we're seeing. Generally, giving in particular has seen an increase of 136% over the last 8 years. I know Dr. Russell James down at Texas Tech has done a ton of research on this, right? And it's showed that nonprofits who ask for stock gifts and pursue, I think are the words that he used, that pursue stock gifts in addition to cash raise 55% more.
mm,
Yet we still have 90% of nonprofits who are like, I don't have a brokerage account. No one asks us for stock gifts, so we don't give it. Or like we wait till they reach out. And I'm like, no, those donors are usually high capacity donors,
yeah.
more major gift donors. And if you're not talking about it, you're not set up, you're not capable, they're going to go find an organization who has the infrastructure and who handle a larger gift, right? And so I think there's an awareness of the tax efficiency for those big donors or generous givers, as we can call them, right? And they're saying, man, if I write a check, I'm giving to you from my smallest bucket of money, right?
Mhm,
In the US, most donor wealth, actually 90% of donor wealth is not held in cash.
of course.
It's held in assets like securities and real estate. So when we only ask for cash, we're actually asking for the smallest bucket of funds available to these donors. But if you start to open up more pathways of giving, like, oh, yes, we can take a legacy gift. Yes, you want to do an endowment. There are ways we can do it where it gives us flexibility, but we can honor your wishes. And also, yes, we can receive stock gifts.
Mhm,
The average online cash gift is only $128. The average stock gift is $8,000. Those are national averages. They're actually higher through our platform. But when you think about that, you're like, okay, I could do 62 credit card donors. And that would be the equivalent of one, we're looking at averages, one stock donor. I'm like, if you ask any nonprofit leader, they're like, I want that one, right? Like
of course.
that's great. And the reality is you want all donors. You want everybody to be able to partake in your mission at whatever level they can.
But
But by
right now, they're only capturing those 62.
correct, too many are, or they're like, well, I have it, but no one really does it. And I'm like, well, how easy is it for the donor? Is it on your website? Are you saying download a PDF, call us, email us, do all of that? That's the old system. So if
Mhm,
you can remove friction for those donors, I think that's where it's really meaningful. And we process tens of millions of dollars of stock gifts for our clients. Even in crypto, too. Crypto's an outlier. We literally processed a $330,000 crypto gift for one of our clients today, right before I got on this call. And we love it. We celebrate. We're like, yeah, like this is so exciting. This is a great news email. And people are always surprised by those because those are outliers too. But I think when you look at the trends, you see trends towards stock giving, particularly, of course, donor advised funds, crypto, and all of that. But there's significant data around the increase of that giving. There's also some significant data around how much major donors want to see financial transparency, strategic planning. I think like when you're in a scarcity mindset, donors feel like they're saving you. It's
Mm,
like that call of desperation because we feel it, right? I've been there. Like we feel it as a fundraiser, like, no, but we have. But if you can create a little bit of breathing room and start to create some strategy and purpose around, it's not just excess to have excess, but it's about, do you have enough? Do you have enough that if something doesn't happen, like if a donor doesn't come through or something, difficult happens, can you keep the lights on? Can you bring continuity to the people you serve? And then that becomes your responsibility, and thoughtful stewardship and finding someone who can walk that path with you is really important. And that's what we try to do at Infinite Giving.
love that. A past guest kind of said that donors really want to be part of a winning organization.
Absolutely.
And that I think also really contributes whenever you can show and share your donors, like, this is what you're signing up to be a part of whenever you're working with our nonprofit. And we will be here for years to come. And the money that you are presenting for us is gonna, set up the next generation and the generation following for the
Mhm.
same benefits that you're seeing today.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that.
Good. And it's interesting because when you think about receiving stock gifts, there's a lot of other organizations who are like, great, let's get really creative and you can do this and we'll receive it for you. And they're giving you a roundabout way for you to be able to receive those asset gifts, which is awesome. It's creative. We solve the problem at the root by saying, guess what? We're gonna we open a brokerage account for you
Mhm.
quickly, no minimums. It's like, let's open your brokerage account. That allows you to receive it. It allows you, we don't do any transaction fee on that stock gift. So it's
Yeah,
like, it's a full
complete
stock.
control.
Yeah. And it's because people forget. They're like, no, 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 I'm going to use this other folk and it's going to a donor advised fund. And then it'll go through here and then I'll get a check, which is great because it's a creative outlet, on like, how do we get around this? But the reality is, again, those donors are like, so this organization can't even get their own brokerage account. Like, I want to give my gift to you. I don't want to go give it over here to another org to take 5% and then eventually get to you. So we're again trying to just say, let's bring it in house. So we are that traditional
Transparency.
side of finance, but then we've
Yeah.
modernized it and in that nonprofit way that streamlines a lot of it.
I love that. If you could just share, as we're kind of wrapping up, an example of a nonprofit that's reached out to you, walk us through what that kind of story would be for them. Maybe one of the ones that's trying to grow their $10 million endowment. How it is being able to take non cash donations, enabling that growth.
Yeah, so we're a fiduciary and financial partner, and so we're very modular. So some folks come to us and they're like, "I've got this money in my savings account or locked in at like a 2% in a CD. I need something better or different. Is it? It feels scary talking to an advisor. I don't. I don't want to risk this. I'm like, great. It's capital preservation. We understand that an advisor can still. We have a treasury portfolio. This is currently targeting around 5%, fixed income targeting around 6%. There are lower risk, more conservative portfolios for cash. Other folks come to us and they're like, great, we need an endowment. And usually it's like, sometimes it's okay, we have some reserves, let's seed it, we can do a campaign. Usually it's like, hey, a donor said they wanted to do this. And I found out that previously we've told donors no. And I'm like, please don't tell your donor no. Let us help you. There are ways that we can do this in a way where it works for you and that donor. Or to your point, sometimes it's like, we just want to improve our stock system. Yes, we can do it, but it's, manual and they have to call me. And then we forgot to check the brokerage account and then our finance. So I think whether you're trying to solve the problem of streamlining or opening up, stock, crypto, DAF giving, or it's the cash management, we usually say, great, we can solve that. Let's get going. There's no onboarding fees. There's no initiation fees. We understand you. But usually what happens is most of our clients start to grow into those other areas because they come for one of those pain points. And then usually we get thanked a lot. And they're like, wait, you can actually also solve
Mhm.
this, and you can do that. I'm like, yeah, you can receive a stock gift. We can liquidate it. And if you're doing a capital campaign that we're holding, we'll liquidate it, automatically move that money over there. We'll reinvest it into some mutual funds. We took care of the receipting, the liquidation, the reinvestment, everything for you. And their eyes just get really wide. And they're like, we didn't even know somebody like you existed. And I'm like, this solution did not exist before us, but our goal is to make your life easier. So I think those journeys look differently.
Depending
It's
on where their needs are. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the idea is we grow with them and we can
Love
support
it.
them in whatever way. We do policy creation, quarterly board reporting, we'll join board meetings. So it's a mix of really beautiful financial technology along with people and services that understand nonprofits.
Love that. Karen, thank you so much for joining us today. We can end on the final note of where is our organization going? What's on the time horizon that you're really excited for?
Yeah, thanks for asking. We are excited to meet new nonprofit leaders. So we're working with new organizations all the time, onboarding them. So if you find us, we'd love to meet you. It's infinitegiving.com. I would say the other exciting thing we have is I have a book coming out in December. It's called Funding Your Mission, and it's a modern guide to nonprofit finance. Because when you look at resources, there's a lot of great financial resources, a lot of great nonprofit, but what about nonprofit finance? So it's a very niche book, but it's a lot of what we talk about for board members, for finance teams, for nonprofit leaders, for anyone who's just like, well, is there a better way? How do we think about this? And then we share a lot of data of like, hey, here's research, here's hundreds of organizations we serve, here's what they're doing, and here's what we found works.
Love that. And how would a nonprofit leader get a hold of your book?
Yeah, so we'll be having them for sale on our website, infinitegiving.com. It'll be on Amazon. It'll be in all those different areas. But again, Funding Your Mission coming out in November.
Amazing.
Well, late November, early December.
Sounds good. Karen, thank you for joining and sharing more about the work that y'all are doing. I really appreciate the conversation and the time you gave sharing that incredible mission.
Yeah, thanks, Grayson. Appreciate you and Charity Charge.